Hey, comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer, bringing you Countdown episode number 96, the special Convergence edition. That's right, fans. Now, the countdown's not totally back yet, but I did have enough time this week to read all the Convergence titles that I bought. And what a good way of start, reintroducing the countdown again by doing the Convergence event, because there was a lot of DC titles, there was a lot of Convergence books, a lot of people were discussing them or interested about them. So I thought, well, since I didn't get a chance to read all my books this way, instead of skipping another countdown, let's just do a special edition one. That's right. So we're going to do a special edition Convergence countdown, and I think I bought 8 of the books, and that's including the actual main event as well. So we're going to count down all the way from the worst, and yes, go all the way to Mike Spider Slayer's best Convergence book. So shall we get started with number 8, the worst of the Convergence books? All right, so first thing here is number 8 goes to Convergence Batman and Robin issue number 1. That's right, fans. Everything about this book I thought was really weak. The one thing is, if you haven't read Convergence, all these spin-off books are very, very cookie cutter. It always starts off with a main part of the book, and then it all leads to the villain Telos, who relieves the dome from the particular city and says they have to fight against each other. And pretty much every superhero sits there and says, well, we're not going to fight, and then they wind up fighting in the end, or there's going to be a fight, or something happens at the end that draws it to where they're going to have to force the fight. So every Convergence book is like that. So it's very cookie cutter. There's a lot of things that you've kind of read over and over again, and I'll explain as our countdown goes. But Batman and Robin was a book that I really didn't enjoy, especially for the artwork in the book. The artwork was very weak, in my opinion. I just thought that the coloring was off in this book as well. I thought that the sketch work in here, was just too sketchy. Here it was just too cluttered, just too much going on. I just didn't like it. I felt it was just very atrocious. And in this book, we get to see that Poison Ivy is growing trees in the domes or whatever, and Cobblepot wanted to make, of course, income off of this. And Batman and Damian come to save the day, and they kind of save her. And Jason Todd winds up coming in the whole thing. And Damian just doesn't like the situation, and he definitely has reserve about what's going on. He's like, oh, it's Jason Todd. He's all of a sudden he's showing up, and now he's part of the family. So this is the Damian, before obviously the current series that just ended. This is when he's a dickhead. Nobody likes him. He's just this rebel. He's going to do whatever he wants. And then in the issue, you wind up seeing him going out on his own at the end, and he winds up fighting Jason Todd here, and Batman winds up intervening. And then the next thing you wind up finding out is that Telos makes his little speech that he does in every single Convergence book, and says that the city's going to have to fight each other. There's going to be one left standing, and one's going to fall, and there's going to be one city. That's it. And my question is, with Convergence, is like, if supposedly one city is going to be the one city that's standing, what's going to happen to all these other cities or all these other universes in the DC universe? So that's what I'm kind of unclear about. So in the end, we wind up seeing Batman and Robin and Jason Todd and everybody. They're forced to have to do battle against with this extremist group. Or the extremist group. So I just didn't like this issue overall as a whole. I thought this was very poor. I thought the artwork was poor. I thought the story was very weak. It didn't get me excited. Now, you guys got to look at me here as just a New 52 reader. I didn't read much pre-New 52 stuff, so I don't have that rich history that maybe a lot of DC fans have, where they're excited about Convergence because they get to see their their heroes return that they haven't seen in 3 years or whatever it is. So they might be really excited, but when you look at the overall story here, I thought this was very, very weak, and I gave this one a 2 out of 5. I just didn't like the whininess of Damien. I didn't like the artwork. I just didn't like the overall story. So for me, this was the worst Convergence book of the week, and that was number 8. Next, we go on to number 7, and number 7 goes to Convergence Batgirl, issue number 1 of 2. And this issue had Stephanie Brown, it had Cassandra Cain, and it had, was it Tim Drake was in here. And this was another issue where I found it was just almost like pointless. The one thing in here is you have Stephanie Brown talking about how she compared and how she was to other Batgirls and comparing herself to Batman and things like that. And I just was just like, I don't have that rich history with these Batgirls, so I couldn't really connect to this book and all that much. I thought the artwork was okay in this one, but again, I didn't think it was that great. I was not blown away by it whatsoever. The dome comes crumbling down, and people start to panic and whatnot. People are trying to escape because they've been trapped inside their city for so long. And there were some good character moments here with the two girls between Cassandra and Stephanie Brown in the issue, because a lot of things have changed in the whole year that the dome has been up. But in the end, I was just like, okay, there's nothing phenomenal about this issue. I just thought it was just like a bunch of rambling and babbling on. What happens is they wind up getting captured by Telos's orbs, and they wind up going to outside the Gotham area. So I just didn't like it. I was just like, okay, this is okay. I mean, you got Stephanie comparing herself to the other Batgirls, and she didn't have her powers for a year. She wasn't a Batgirl for a year and whatnot, but it was okay. I think the good thing that Convergence does here is that in every book, at the end of each book, it gives you a recap of who all the characters are. So in a nutshell, you have an idea of what's going on here if you haven't read up on these characters in a while or haven't known anything about them. But again, there was no significant cliffhanger here in this issue that sat there and said, wow, this was really good. I got to get the next one. They just transport to the outside of the Gotham, and they're on the planet. So it's like, okay, that's great. Now, again, if you're a Batgirl fan, if you're a Stephanie Brown fan, Tim Drake fan, all fans of these characters, you're going to be excited to see these characters donning these suits and whatnot. But again, if you don't have any significant tie to these characters, then there's nothing special here, I thought. So I gave this one a 2 3/4 out of 5 stars. All right, and that was number 7. Number 6 was the actual Convergence issue number 1 event that took place. In the 0 issue, you got to see what Superman kind of went through, trying to go back to his metropolis, and there's going to be different timelines. So you got to see kind of like what's going to happen here. And in this issue, which you get that whole fold out cover that we've seen, in this issue here, we get to see the return of Injustice, Superman and whatnot in the beginning of all this, and we get to see that Gotham is crumbling down to pieces, and just as Superman wants nothing to do with it and whatnot. But we wind up seeing the return of our Earth 2 superheroes, because based off of, if you read Earth 2, it looks like their Earth was crumbling and blowing up to pieces. And they escaped that and wound up going to the planet here without a city. And we wind up finding out that it kind of recaps all the characters that are in the book, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought the artwork in this book was pretty well done. So I enjoyed that aspect of it. I'm trying to see who did was it who did the actual artwork in this issue. But nevertheless, it was good artwork to look at. So it gave you a recap of kind of what was going on. We get to see the Avatar that was in the Earth 2 book, and now she's been brought back to human state now. And as our heroes are collecting themselves, we wind up finding out that they come face to face with Telos. And again, he's explaining the story of what's happening in these universes and what's going on with this planet, how the cities are going to be together, they're going to be pitted against each other, and things like that. I mean, the whole story is explained. So if you don't know this by now, by reading the other Convergence books, then read this book first, because this really gives you the breakdown of everything what Convergence is and what's it about. So by the time you wind up getting to the end of this actual issue, we wind up finding out that it's just this big tournament and they're going to be fighting against other people, and that was that. So once again, it's another setup issue. And that's basically what this is. And this continues off of Earth 2 pretty much, where I thought it was really going to be based off of From Future's End, where I thought that's what they said it was going to happen. But this is really more of an Earth 2 book because these heroes got transported right to here. So interesting things. I thought this was solid. It was good. It had good artwork. But I wasn't blown away by it because, again, it was just all set up. And I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And that was number 6. So now we go on to the top 5. And the number 5 Convergence book of the week was Convergence Justice League issue number 1. This is where some of these books really started getting a little bit more meatier stories to make you say, okay, what's going to happen in the next issue here? First of all, the artwork done by Vincent, I can't even say the guy's name. First of all, when it comes to the all-girl Justice League here, was just absolutely phenomenal. And I have to point this out because it was just all well done here. Just the coloring, the details, when it comes to the actual wall being broken, and you get to see facial expressions in here. We get to see Jade, who I haven't seen in a long time, being a Green Lantern fan. So again, as a Green Lantern fan, if you miss Jade from the Kyle Rayner or from a while back, you're going to be happy to see her again. But going back to the artwork here, you get to see Kara putting some guy against the wall. I mean, the artwork is gorgeous. The women in the book are absolutely just outstanding to look at. Vixen looks really nice in here. So they all look good. So visually, the book drew me to it. It made me want to read it and just look at all the details of the artwork. Very nice book to look at visually here. Now, in this actual story here, though, getting up to it, we get to see what our Justice League girls have been doing since the year that the dome has been up. Because while this dome is up, you can't go anywhere. You're trapped because basically it looks like you're being transported to the other planet, and you really don't know that. But you have no powers at the same time. So everything is different. The villains are different. The heroes are different. So they got to do things to occupy their life and try to make a living and things like that. And they're getting adjusted to being under this dome. And we get to see Jessie Quick in here. She actually has a baby in here. So we get to see the delivery of that baby, which was really nice. And you just get to see the girls really interact with each other, and that was that. So in the beginning I was like, okay, yeah, that's okay, but then you get to see Mara in this issue, and she's just kind of just all sad because she misses her lover. She misses Aquaman, and that's what you get to see in this particular issue. And you wind up seeing another version of Aquaman in here, and the same thing, he's kind of looking for Mara as well. Well, as this dome lifts, we wind up finding out that everyone winds up getting their superpowers back. Jade's back. Everyone's back getting their powers back. And then what happens is they're looking for Mira, and at the same time, Aquaman is looking for her too. But Aquaman was going to attack in the same time. They were going to find a way to penetrate that dome, and they were going to attack the city. So once they get the speech from Telos and everything that was going on, again, we see Mira gets kidnapped, Aquaman says, "Oh, you're gonna force to love me, even though we're not the same people." And what's going to happen is I'm going to attack the city, and that's how that one ends. I thought this was this was good. This was a solid book. I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars as well. Again, visually, it was outstanding to look at. It was a great book, and this really had a little bit more meatier story to some of the others that I've already explained, and I liked it. So again, this one got a 3.5 out of 5 stars for me. All right. So going on to number 4. Number 4 Convergence book of the week was Harley Quinn, issue number 1. Harley Quinn, I'm sure for a lot of fans, was happy to see Harley Quinn back in the old, costume, pre-New 52 costume, and it was good to see her personality back as well, the way she is. And you get to see her with the hammer and whatnot. So there's lots of things going on here that really brought the character back to the way she was. And so this was a very enjoyable book. The artwork was good, good facial expressions to see that crazy Harley on there. So I enjoyed it. I liked the way it was looked. The artwork was on here, and in this story was nice too, because after the dome went up, we wind up seeing Harley just going back to normal. She doesn't wear the costume anymore. She doesn't what's it called? She doesn't do crime anymore. She even gets off of her medication. She started dating the cop that she put in the hospital in the previous pages, and she started seeing a relationship with her. And she's still funny in that Harley type of way, where she wants chocolate, where it makes her look hyper and whatnot. And it was very cool to see that. But then, based off of the events that happened throughout the issue, we wind up seeing that Harley is forced to go back in her old ways, because they're forced to do battle in this dome. Well, since the dome has lifted, they got to do battle against everybody else in here. And her boyfriend is just sitting there going, "Please don't bring her back," because they put her back in her costume. They're injecting her with pills, and by the time you get to the end of this issue, she's that crazy ass Harley that everybody knows and loves. So after she has been completely rehabilitated, she's back to her normal self. So I like this one. This one was really good. I found it enjoyable, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. All right, so we're going on to number 3. And number 3 Convergence book of the week for me was Speed Force issue number 1. Now, granted, guys, I didn't get every single Convergence book. I know there's The Question, there was Nightwing and Oracle, so I didn't read those. Again, these are just the ones that I bought. So Speed Force, issue number 1. This one was written by Tony Bedard, and the artist was done by Tom Grummett. Now, Wally West is in this particular issue, and he has his kids, which is Iris, and I forgot the other boy's name. I totally forgot the little boy's name. Maybe it'll come to me at first. But again, guys, I'm not familiar with everybody here. But in this issue, you get to see Wally West in here, and he has his kids with him, and we wind up finding out that he had the kids out, and that he was in Gotham, and the dome came, and he was trapped in Gotham City. And for a year, he's been trying to get out, but he can't. He has no powers, and the kids have no powers, and they're stuck here. And I like this issue because of the fact being that it was more of a father taking care of his kids. He's being that single parent. And he's admitting to his kids that he can be a better dad. And I appreciated that from this issue, being that I'm a father myself. So I got a lot from there. And the cool thing is that they focused on is him really not having his powers in this issue, where he tries to run back to get back to the kids. And when you got to see how slow he is, you see him running next to a bicycle guy riding a bike. And I thought that was really, really neat thing to kind of see how slow he is. And he tries so hard to try to keep in shape just in case things get back to normal. But as the issue progresses, again, we wind up seeing that familiar message that we see in all of the issues. And as we continue to read, once that dome goes down, he gets his powers back, and so do the kids. They get their powers back as well. So once he gets his powers back, he finds out that other cities are being threatened. He uses his speed force, he runs, and he goes and he tries to find other cities and whatnot. And when he tries to find a city that's possibly in danger, we will end up witnessing that the Western version of Gotham or whatnot winds up falling to pieces. And this is what I also liked about the issue, because you got to see Wally leave his city, his dome city, and traveling throughout the planet. So I like the details that they put there by showing the other cities. And then what happens in witnessing a city crumbling to the ground when you lose a battle. And we haven't seen that in the other issues. So that's what I really liked about that one. I thought that was really enjoyable there. So that was awesome there. So by the time you wind up getting, let me see where it's at here. You wind up seeing going through, like, I guess a metropolis city, and so like Hawkman City, and so everybody else like that. And then by the time you wind up getting towards the end of this issue, he winds up teaming up with this dude right here. So I'm not even sure what that guy's name was. And they're trying to go team up, and they're going to go against this version of Wonder Woman and the Amazon. So that's how this one leads up. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So, and this guy's name is Fastback. That's who this guy is. So he's like another version of a Flash in some cartoon universe or whatever it is. But I thought this was a really cool cliffhanger with Wonder Woman in there, and he's going to have to do battle against her in Amazon. So really fun stuff here. And then if you want that, again, that good history with the characters, go for it there, because you'll learn a lot about them here. I like this book. This was a 4 out of 5 for me. I love the family dynamic of this book. I love the cliffhanger. I love the middle of the book. This was a solid and complete issue. It even though it had those same elements as some of the other books, it just, again, it had that meatier story to it. So again, 4 out of 5 for me here. All right, so now we're going on to number 2. Number 2 was Convergence, the Titans, issue number 1 of 2. I thought this book was really well done. I liked, this kind of like this classic page back here where it says where we were all the sidekicks of the major superheroes, but eventually we have to grow up. And I really like that aspect of the book. And it gave you a good little history here of Arsenal and what happened to him, his daughter, and things like that. His daughter went missing, or I'm sorry, his daughter got killed. And I really like that. So it really summed up his life for you real quick. And then it shows you his life of what he's been doing under the dome this entire time. And we can see that people weren't used to what was going on and whatnot. And then people settled in, and people were happy that there was no superpowers going on. And then there's those famous words that you see in every single Convergence issue. And then what happens is Donna Troy and Starfire wind up getting their powers back. Love the artwork in here. Starfire and Donna look really nice. Arsenal looks really good in this issue. I love the story that it presents here because it has to do really with Arsenal's daughter. We get to see his secret lair that he used because it was Batman's type of lair or whatnot. It has all his stuff in there, his arsenal, if you could say. And then they get sent out by the extremists, and they wind up doing battle against them. And then what happens at the end of this issue is really cool, because he comes face to face to this guy, to this villain here, that presents an interesting offer to Arsenal, because he goes and he puts on the bionic arm, and he suits up and he gears up, and this is a great page right here. I really enjoyed that. This is great artwork. I really love this book. And then he comes and he goes to Lord Havoc, I think his name is, and he presents his daughter to him. He goes, I can bring you your daughter back from any timeline, from any place. And he goes, but what will you do at the cost of for your daughter? Will you betray your own friends? And it was just crazy because he busts out the gun and he's just about to blow the guy's head off. And the next thing you see is he can't believe that he sees his daughter. I mean, the facial expression in itself was just like, was priceless. I was just like, oh my God, this is awesome. And the next thing you see is that the gun's split into two and it shoots at Donna Troy and Starfire. And you're like, oh damn, shit, did he just kill them? I was like, man, that's a crazy cliffhanger there. So I was like, wow, this was a good issue. So this was really good. I gave this one a 4 3/4 out of 5 stars. This was awesome, awesome book. Really enjoyed it. This meant something. This had me going out saying, this is a good book. I have to pick up the next one. Fantastic read. Definitely recommend this. All right. Next book. #1 book on the countdown, episode number 96, the Convergence Special Edition. And it goes to Convergence Superman, issue number 1 of 2. I like this book. This book was just, I'm not a huge Superman fan, but this is something that Superman fans really want and really waited for a long time, and they deserve this. So this was really good. I mean, the cover says it all. It shows the relationship between Clark and Lois, and you got to see what Superman does when he doesn't have any powers while this dome is up. He dresses in black. He references Batman in here, and they're stuck in Gotham. And Lois is pregnant, and Lois is in Superman's ear. He has an earbud, and she communicates to him where the danger is at. But just as he's doing battle against these thugs here, we wind up seeing that he's getting torched. But just as that dome is coming up, he gets his powers back. And what a great title page. And I think Dan Jurgens did a great job with this. And he winds up just showing that classic looking Superman pose. And I was like, man, that's Superman right there. And he's wearing that, underwear that everyone's been asking for. Just a classic costume. Classic pages that you've known Superman for years and years and years. So this is a really well done book. And when he gets his powers back, he just wants to enjoy the moment with his wife, where he has his powers. It's quiet. He did hear the message of Telos, of what was going on. And just as he sits down and enjoys that moment with his wife, he winds up flying out and finding out what's going on. So he goes flying out, and we wind up seeing that the Flashpoint hero or bad guys are involved. Or Flashpoint timeline characters are involved, and they're going to have to do battle. Jimmy gets some kind of spaceship type of thing, so he could take pictures or whatnot. So it was kind of weird there. I was like, all right, that's all right. But the thing is you wind up seeing another Superman fly by and hit Clark, and this was Flashpoint Superman, which was pretty badass right there. And we see him. Then he also comes face to face with Captain Thunder, which is Shazam also, and they start doing this huge battle. Then Abin Sur and Cyborg come, and they start freaking going to town on Superman. So it's a good battle here. And then what happens at the end is at first they were going to listen to Superman, but then Jimmy comes in his stupid ship, and then they wind up kicking the shit out of freaking Superman some more. And then you get Flashpoint Superman coming in here, and it's Flashpoint Superman, some creepy little eerie guy, and he winds up breaking through the door just like with a fingertip, and he's like, I love you, Lois. He's like, I miss you. You don't remember me? We had this connection. She's like, I know of you, but not this version of you. And he's just like, he's like this crazy stalker, little skinny, weird guy. And she's all freaked out. And she's like, Clark. And she's all worried about the baby. And then he's just getting the shit beat out of him. So this was a great issue. I love this issue. This was phenomenal. Great book, great story all the way around. Those top 2 books is what makes good spin-off books right there. Those 2 were my favorite. And that Superman book really gets a 5 out of 5 stars for me. I really enjoyed that book. So there's a little bit of a lowdown of the Convergence books that I read this week, guys. So you've seen the worst. You've seen the best and all the other stuff in between. So guys, as always, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. Until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider signing off. Take care, fans. See you soon. Bye.